Over the last two lessons, we've looked at money that's had to leave your account, first automatically, and then the ones you pay yourself. Today, we're going to look at the third category, everything else. These are the everyday spending decisions that often feel random until you finally see them all in one place. This is going to be one of the biggest mindset shifts inside the Money RX because once you see how your money moves, you can begin to make better decisions instead of reacting month after month. So let's grab pen and paper and work through these last set of exercises together.
So here's the exercise we're going to do. The Spending Allowance Worksheet. Now, I always say this every week. If you didn't have a chance to print, just use a sheet of paper. It's okay if you don't have the actual worksheet. And you'll want to have 6 columns. What we're going to do with the same statement, and that's why I did the little disclaimer about I know some people don't have bank accounts, bank statements. Wherever money is going out. So that could mean picking up your phone and looking at your phone line by line by line. In my case, as you saw, the credit card. So what you want to do is line by line by line on that statement. You remember we did that for the ACHs. Line by line by line. You're going to be picking up items that were not obligations, but were discretionary income. For example, the hamburger joints. I talk about the ice creams, the dinners. You're going to go line by line by line. Picking out grocery stores, you're going to log that amount. Just write it in that column. If it's transportation related, same thing. Household, anything for the household. And so what you're going to find is your habits, your spending habits are now about to show up. Remember, obligations are things that, it's the roof over your head. You got to do the basics. But your spending, this is where your values are. What matters most to you? Personal. These would be things for you, your toiletries, drugstores, when we're doing people's accounting, medicines, memberships, massages. Anything like that would be personal. Shopping, recreation. If you get mixed up between this, just think people, places, and things. Okay? Recreation and shopping. Fees, this is a big one, especially for folks who do have banks. Bank charges. If you're seeing overdrafts, fees for different things, ATM fees, you're going to put it in this column. And then other, I don't like other, but other could be your pet. It could be a friend, a family member. Where is your money going? Where is your spending going? I know one of the things I'm seeing a lot is cash apps between parents and their kids. That's where that's going to go. Okay? Or you could put it in recreation and shopping. I'll leave that up to you. But the point is we need to capture all of that because look at what we've got going. We've got the stuff happening automatically. We looked at that for the month. Then we saw our obligations weekly. Now we're going to see everything else. Where did the money go? It went out automatically. It went out with our pressing a button or logging in and paying it, or it went out one of these ways. It could be you're swiping, it could be you're using your wallet, digital wallet, it could be cash, you're going to the ATM getting cash. Well, however you're doing it. This is the sheet for everything else on that bank statement or credit card statement or whatever statement you've been using. I can tell you right now, eating our money up is huge. I can't talk. $873.62 was my number years ago. First time I ever did this. In 1 month, as of the 20th of February, that was on top of groceries. That wasn't groceries. It's real. And that was before tariffs and all the stuff. So this is where your money's going for wealth building, paying off debts, building your business. This is all the extra. This is where we're going to find it. We're going to find it right now. Okay, as we wrap this up, now you want to get totals for each column. Total for food, total for transportation, total for, each of your categories. Okay, do you see how I got the grand total for all the columns? My total came to $673.90. I'm not going to ask you to post yours. We'll talk about that in a moment. But go ahead and get the grand total and divide that by 4. Okay, y'all ready? Drum roll over there. Oh my gosh. It's about what I thought. My numbers are about what I thought. I won't call it foolishness because I have to eat, but these are my real numbers. Look, I'm not having any fun. When I lived in Dallas, this would look very different. Very different. So there's some trade-offs, which means what? That means the money is staying in my account. Because let me break this down for you. This is my weekly allowance. It should be 168 a week. And if I did it that way, it would probably be a little cleaner. And how much you want to bet I probably won't have as much of this happening over here? Because I used to say, because it was true, and it still is true, spend cash, spend less. So I would send people out of my office with their number for the week. This is what you put in a cash envelope each week to spend. No more swiping, no more electronic spending. You spend cash. And when you spend cash, you're going to spend less. It has been proven because you're not going to part with all your cash. But this type of stuff is easy. It's so easy for our money to just get away from us. So just do your Apple Pay for groceries too. Now I don't have a card with all this activity. Now this is back to what I was saying earlier about having bank accounts that linked that have activity that can pull in the software. None of this is in software. This is not business. This is my personal life. So no, I'm not linking this account to my software. See my point? And isn't this, can y'all give me your feedback? Not just because I came up with this. Isn't this better than a spreadsheet? Meaning easier than a spreadsheet, quicker than a spreadsheet? Think about it. We're business people. We don't want to take forever to get this kind of clarity. And okay, tell me this. Thank you. I see rights. I see some people agree. I see people agreeing with me. And did you feel as you were doing this exercise like I felt? I'm like, please, how many more lines? Am I done yet? Oh God, another one? Were you feeling that? Like again? Oh, I got 2 stories I want to tell you about this. Real true stories in my office. That's how I knew I wasn't crazy. Because I saw this work for 2 people, very random, that I did this with. One, she stops the session because while I'm looking at her tax returns, these were my money makeover sessions. And tell them bring in your pay stubs, your tax returns, different things for me to look at. While I'm reviewing that, they were doing this exercise. Yep. And all I can remember was this one lady, she just kept grunting. Every like few minutes, she was grunting. She's on one side of the conference room table, I'm on the other. And inside, I know what's happening because it happens to me. It just happened. I said, wow, look at all this. You just eat. You don't have no kind of life. You just sit and eat and drink. So we can clean up our act, right? I do food prep, by the way. So groceries is a big deal for me. But she says, I'm sorry. Can I call my husband real quick? Literally in the middle of doing this. She says, tell Charles to take that meat out the freezer. We need to start cooking. Literally. That's what this is about. Awareness, awareness, visibility. I'll tell you another story. Now, this is major. Now, this was my first radio interview on Q93 when I first started Money Doctor. I get off the air, and one of the account execs comes up to me. He says, I need to have a session with you. And I'm like, ooh. Because at this point, I'm thinking, this was like my early years of this. I'm thinking, this is brand new. This is not for people like serious business people. This dude was making $200,000. Seriously. He said, I need a session with you. Because the message has always been this type of thing. Long story short, you see my total, my 673 there. When we got done with this exercise, he needed $800 just for eating out per week. You remember my number was per month. I'm not judging, but that's when the more we make, the more we spend if we don't have a plan for that money. And when you live like this, you do have a plan for that money. It's gonna sit in your account because you only living off 168. Like this all we got for this week. Now that's the good news. You get a fresh allowance every week. So anyway, we do the exercise. Long story short, he didn't like that number. And he had heard me using my example of 100 a week. Because you can see I just kind of default to 100. No, I'm gonna do 200. I said, bruh, we New Orleans here. I said, I don't believe in setting people up to fail. What that number is about is based on reality. So of course you're not gonna walk around with $800 cash. That just means you hitting the ATM every day, get 200 out, but you're spending cash. He said, no, I'm gonna do 200. He said, because if my mom, we grew up so poor, if she knew how I spend money, it would break her heart. I'm gonna do 200. I'm gonna do 200. I'm like, oh God, it doesn't work. We got to be realistic. I like you want to. Do you know he did it? He did it. The next week, he came back, he did it. We need a goal. We just need a number. We need the number. What's the number? So, can you see how this can help direct some of the spending, this process? And the thing I do like about this too, you can spend your money, your allowance on whatever you want. I'm not telling you in your budget column you only have so much for this week. And because the first time I tried to do that as an entrepreneur, of course, there was a workshop for $35 I wanted to go to the following week. It wasn't on my budget. So now I'm feeling some kind of way like I can't go. No, you can spend. Look, you might want some shoes that week. Go get a pair of shoes or something if you can afford it for that. I mean, you can spend your allowance however you like. The point is, you're gonna spend less if it's in front of you. Now, I say spend cash, spend less. This is Apple Pay. But look, I didn't even do much Apple Pay once I started doing that 2 times. So these are the things that we're saying with this system. All right, I could go on and on about this because it changes lives. It's going to change your household. Look, you will have money to pay the debts off, the debt or the debts if you do this. But this is my spending allowance system. I have my own personal story. I'll never forget when I saw $20,000 on a bank statement. We talking about people not having a bank account. A bank statement, $20,000. Now, I had credit card statements with that available, but I found out the hard way that wasn't my money. When the recession hit, one was 16,000, I hadn't used it at all, and one was 15,000, I hadn't used it at all. But I had these checks, so if I run short, because that's what happens when you step out in business, I know I got this for backup. Well, let me tell you, when the recession hit, them people closed them accounts. They closed them. When I went to go use that money, those accounts were closed and I had no money saved. Nothing saved. It was terrifying. So imagine that killed my credit because now I'm 100% in debt with whatever debt I had. I have no available credit. My credit was in the 500s during that season. And I share that story as we do these exercises and I have hardly stuff that I'm spending. I can relate. I can relate. And these cards, man, we saw you weren't using it, so we closed it. That was never my money. But in my mind, my twisted thinking, that's my extra. It's not. When you have your own money, when I saw that statement for the first time, 20,000, I said, wow, I've never saved that much money of my own. That was a huge confidence boost, huge in so many ways. And so this is what we're talking about. But I had been living like this on a fixed, well, it was a cash envelope system, but we're not using cash anymore. So I had to adapt what I'm saying with the times. But it's an allowance system. And it made all the difference. And it created this extra in my account because I wasn't spending. And it was only the necessities that I was spending. And it made the difference. So we just did this with you. If you've got a household, I mean, it's easy for me to do this because it's just me. I remember being in a marriage where the numbers was all over the place. It was crazy because you can't control another adult. All you could do is hopefully get on the same page with them. That's a real thing. But next week, we're going to talk about everyone, kids included. We're going to get their number, okay? We're going to just a little modification of this to help you get their number for their allowance next week. Awareness is key. Exactly. The visibility. That's what we're talking about. People's money right now is invisible. It's so invisible. You don't see it. And that's what makes it spooky. But when you can bring it out to the forefront where you can see it, then it's not so scary. All right?
If you've enjoyed working through these Money RX exercises with me over the last few weeks, I'd like to personally invite you to continue the journey. Beginning August 1st, you'll have complete access to the Money RX experience. That means all the lessons, all of the exercises, and a beautiful workbook packaged together in one place. Instead of scrambling for notes, you'll have a step-by-step system you can work through at your own pace. But here's my favorite part. You won't be doing it alone. We'll have a private community where I'll host pop-up work with me sessions. Sometimes we'll grab a cup of coffee. Sometimes it might be an evening cocktail, but we'll work through the lessons. I'll answer your questions. We'll celebrate our wins and keep each other moving forward because that's how real change really happens. Not by watching another video, but by actually doing the work. So if you're ready to stop guessing about your money and start moving in purpose, I'd love for you to join us. You'll find all the details in the description of this video, and I can't wait to work through the Money RX with you.